Hello everybody, it's Emma. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about all these books. We are going to be talking about the books I read this month and then the books I want to read in August. So, make sure to Make sure to subscribe if you aren't already. I appreciate it so much. Also, turn on my post notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload. And let's go ahead and talk about some books.
Arguing again, arguing about something so simple. Make it clear, tell me why you're running back to him. Feeling insecure, feeling like
my TBRs are never that ambitious, but that's because I know myself and I don't read as much as I would like to. I still read quite a bit, I just don't read as much as I wish I did. I'm really bad about giving myself time to read. I either don't read at all or I read a lot at one time, and we will see that in this video. So let's go ahead and talk about the books I read this month. Last month on my TBR, I had 5 books and a Kindle Unlimited book that I wanted to read. So 6 overall, and I read 4 of them. So not that bad. First, I read Finding Perfect by Colleen Hoover, which is a tiny novella. I finished this in one sitting. Like I said, I read nothing or I read a lot at one time. I mean, it's only 80 something pages, like 83 pages, so it took me a little over an hour to finish. This is in the Hopeless series. It's the last novella in the Hopeless series, last book in the Hopeless series. It goes hopeless, losing hope, Finding Cinderella, all your perfects, Finding Perfect. And I finished it finally. This is about Daniel and Six, which are the best friends of the main characters in the Hopeless books. And I actually really like Daniel. I say that I'm kind of sad he didn't get his whole own book, but then he got 2 novellas, so I guess that's kind of a book when you combine both of them. But I think I might have thought it was too much if he got his own book. You know what I'm saying? Like, this might have been just the perfect amount, but I just love Daniel so much that I'm craving more, but I'm not gonna ever get more. This was really good. I have this little handy dandy, it's a bookmark, but I don't really use it as a bookmark, I just use it as a checklist. I write down all the books I've read this month on it and their star ratings. My sister got it for me for Christmas. She got me a pack of them because she said she's gonna do something with them after I'm finished with them, so I don't know what that means, but it's nice to be able to look at and know my ratings. I rated it a 4-star. If you've read the Hopeless series and you haven't had any interest in reading the novellas, I highly recommend it because Daniel and Six's story is actually really fun to read. Then, this book took me a while to finish, but I read Hookline and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. It's the second book to It Happened One Summer. This is about Piper's sister Hannah and Brendan's best friend Fox. This is Hannah and Fox's book. I don't have any strong feelings towards either of them. They're not my favorite books in the world, but they weren't bad books. I'm indifferent. I did rate it a 4-star though, because I enjoyed it a lot. It just took me a hot second to finish. And once again, I read it while I was out laying out, so it's got some water damage. That's okay. Then I read The Infinity Between Us by Ennis Perkins. I started this on Kindle Unlimited. This is the Kindle Unlimited book I was reading, and then I think the cover is so pretty I just wanted to own the physical copy, so I ordered it off Amazon and I finished it with the physical copy. This book is about Violet and Will, and it is like my favorite book trope ever. Childhood friends to lovers. Something happens that breaks them apart and then they come back together years later after not talking for a long time and rekindle their relationship. That's like my favorite trope ever. If you tell me a book is that trope, I'm going to be reading it. It wasn't my favorite book of all time with that trope, but it was good. Maybe I didn't like it as much because I've read so many good books with that trope, so this one just didn't completely live up to it. Also, another thing that was different about this was that the thing that broke them up was more family focused than just like the relationship between them two, if that makes any sense. You'd get what I'm talking about if you had read the book before. It definitely didn't live up to People We Meet on Vacation or Every Summer After, but it does give those vibes and it is pretty good. It also kind of gives beach read vibes because she's going back to the beach house that they grew up in to fix it up to sell it, and that's what they did in Beach Read. Violet comes, she wants to sell the house. Will doesn't want to sell the house. Turns out Will's family owns more of a portion of the house than Violet's family does, so ultimately he gets to make the decision. He says, please just stay this summer with me and I promise I will change your mind. If I don't, we can sell the house. And so she stays the summer at the beach house with Will and we see what happens from there. I rated it a 4-star. Then the last book that I read this month was probably my favorite book I read this month. It was After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is slowly becoming one of my favorite authors. Her writing style just pulls you in and captivates you and you just really feel like you're in the book. You feel like you're a character, you feel like you're part of this family. You're just really in the head of the characters in this book and it's so good. So let me tell you what it's about to convince you to go read this. This book is about Lauren and Ryan and they have been together since they were 19. They got married and they've just been together for a really long time. And eventually they hit a point where they just can't stand each other. They can't stand to be around each other. They fight all the time. They don't work anything out. Their communication sucks and they just don't like each other. And so what they decide to do to try to fix that is separate for a year. No communication, nothing. Ryan moves out. They don't talk to each other for a year and then they're gonna come back together after the year's over and see if they actually want to make it work or if they just want to be done and go their separate ways, get divorced, meet new people, all that kind of stuff. The book is in Lauren's point of view. I rated this a 4-star. I think what would have made it a 5-star is if we also got to see what Ryan was thinking. If we got Ryan's point of view throughout the book, I think that would have made this a 5-star. I even would be interested in reading a whole separate book of Ryan's point of view because this whole book is Lauren's point of view. I would read a whole separate book of Ryan's point of view. Something I really loved about this book is that you get to see emails that each of them write. So they write emails to each other, but they don't send them to each other, but you get to read them in the book. And I think it's so fun because you get a little bit of Ryan's point of view from those emails, but then you also get Lauren's point of view, her feelings toward Ryan in those emails. This is a book I think everybody could read, not just women, not just men. I think everybody should read this book because it really shows how important communication is in relationships, because the main reason that they ended up separating and not being able to stand each other is because they would get in these fights and then they would argue and then eventually they would start arguing about a topic and then one of them would just feel like it's not even worth arguing over, so they would just end it, and then their anger from that argument that they didn't have would just fester inside of them, and then they wouldn't tell each other things and they just wouldn't communicate, and then ultimately their relationship ended because they didn't have a good communication. This book really teaches you how important communication is. I learned a lot of good lessons from this book and I think everybody should read this book. This was the last book that I read this month and we are gonna go ahead and get into the books I want to read in August. I decided to be very realistic this month and I only have 3 books on my TBR. Granted, one is giant, so we'll see if I even get through these 3 books. I also have some other options on my Kindle, and obviously these are all books that need to be read. These 3 right here are books that need to be read. So I've got options if I end up finishing these, but these are just the ones that I for sure want to get done this month. First of all, these first 2 books were in my last month's TBR, and I just didn't finish them, so we're just gonna skim through them really quickly. The Fine Print by Lauren Asher and Confess by Colleen Hoover. This was one I definitely wanted to get reading this month, and it is July 31st right now as I'm filming this, so it's the last day of July. I started it yesterday, so I started it in July, I just didn't get to finish it in July, so we're gonna finish this in August, baby. It's the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. It's about Rowan and Zara. What I know about this series is that Dreamland is kind of like Disneyland, and Rowan's family owns Dreamland and he gets to inherit it. This book is very popular. There's only 2 out right now, The Fine Print and Terms and Conditions. So we're gonna read this month. And then Confess by Colleen Hoover. That book, Fine Print, is kind of thicky. It's kind of a thickie. It's like over 400 pages, so that's gonna take me a little while to read because I'm not a very fast reader. This is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This is the second book I definitely want to read this month. Last month it was on my TBR, but it was kind of like a toss-up if I was gonna get to it or not. Clearly I didn't. What I know about this book, again, I like going into books kind of blindly, not completely blindly. I like to know a little bit about it, the tropes and that kind of stuff, but I don't like to know exactly what happens, obviously. But what I know about this book is that it's about Auburn and Owen. Okay, if this is wrong, don't quote me on it because I'm not 100% sure. I think Owen owns an art studio, and he runs an art exhibit where people write down their confessions, submit them into a box, and he takes the confessions and then makes them into paintings. I think that's what that is. So that's what this is about. Auburn, it says she's lost everything important to her. She walks into a Dallas art studio in search of a job, but then she has a deep attraction to Owen. Something like that. Ooh. It's dual POV. I love when books are dual POV because I love getting inside the brain of both characters. And then the last book I want to read, now this is a controversial series. It's the After series by Anna Todd. I've read the first book in the After series and that's it. I got these for Christmas and I've only read the first one. Some people think it's so cringy because it started on Wattpad, and I don't love Wattpad writing either, but I think this is a little different. Also, I love the After movies. I am a huge After stan. I love the After movies, and so reading about it is so much fun. The books and the movies are completely different, I found out reading the first one, so that's what makes it even more interesting to read, because I hate when I love when I read a book, then I watch a movie and the movie's the exact same as the book. I hate when I watch a movie and then I read a book and the book's the exact same as the movie, because it's so boring to sit there and make yourself read this book that's exactly the same as the movie. That happened to me with Call Me By Your Name. I love the movie Call Me By Your Name, and I've watched the movie like 6-7 times, and then I was like, I'm gonna read the book, maybe it's a little different. No, it's the exact same thing, and I couldn't finish the book because I'd already watched the movie 7 times. I knew what was coming next. But these books are different from the movies, and it's really enjoyable to read for me. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start the second one. It's giant. It's called After We Collided. It's like 670 something pages, so this is gonna take me a while. That's why I only put 3 books on my TBR this month, because I knew this is gonna take me a long time. The first book took me 2 weeks to read, and it's smaller than this one, so this one's gonna take me probably like 2.5-3 weeks. So I gotta get those ones done first, and then we'll go on to this one. I also did want to mention, sometimes when I'm at work and we're slow, like slow, I will hop on my Kindle app on my phone and read a couple chapters or something, like in between cleaning or my tables. And right now, we don't cuss on my channel, so I'm gonna say the Mind F series, that's what it's called. The Mind F series, but they're pretty small books, so I am kind of like reading that in between my books on my Kindle app. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard that it's really good, I've heard that it's really bad. I'm pretty sure it's about a girl who's a serial killer, falls in love with an FBI agent, giving Dexter vibes, kind of. And Dexter's my favorite TV show, so I'm reading that. That's all I have for you guys today. Leave your opinions on these books in the comments below if you've read them. No spoilers, please. If you do comment a spoiler, make sure to put a spoiler alert on which book you're talking about, because I don't want to read any spoilers on the books I have on my TBR for this month. Please and thank you. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, turn on my post notification bell so you know when I upload. Make sure to go follow me on all my social medias. They're always linked in the description down below. That's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!